Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star Part 206 based on novel. So let's start. 2000 years, 2100, 200. The fusion level of the crystal and his soul got higher and higher. It made the intense pain grow even more. This wasn't just any ordinary pain, but a tearing of the soul. At the final threshold, the soul would be completely torn apart. However, as it got closer to the limit, Luo Feng focused his mind. It helped hone his mental state even more and he improved faster. 2,300 years, 2,400, 2,500, 600. It's been 2,600 years. Within the shrine amidst the sealed stars, Luo Feng sat cross-legged there covered in perspiration and blood. Under such pain, blood drops would drip out as his entire body shivered. However, there was a strong sense of sturdiness from his expression, and he wasn't shaken by such pain. The two candidates from the past, the first one lasted 2,600 years, and the other for 3,300 years. Both were absolute geniuses of their time, and were incredibly exceptional elites and beings of the Earth race. In terms of encounters, the first one was the strongest, and he was at the level of innocence, yet he only lasted 2,600 years. The second one, however, was slightly weaker, even weaker than Luo Feng. However, his mental state reached the level of encompassing all. At the end, he too fell. There have been many with strong mental states in the history of Earth. There are countless in the first level, many in the second and quite a few in the third. Put side within. His teacher, the great being that nurtured the Earth race, had said before. The three states weren't higher or lower than each other, they simply represented three different paths. Knowing oneself and staying true to it, knowing one's strength and absolute confidence. No matter what happens, one would always believe in oneself and not be shaken. However, the growth of this path was the hardest, with no external factors, relying solely on willpower. Put crudely, it simply meant being extremely obstinate. Such a person would suffer easily. However, such a warrior wouldn't follow the crowds, he would be sturdy from within. Even when many others criticize and scold him, he wouldn't change. This was the most tiring paths of all. Innocence, man and nature as one. Such a person could gain the respect of many others. It was hard to hold grudges against such a person, as they saw through the souls of trillions of lives. In history, many of them were considered saints. Encompassing all, one believed in the vastness of the universe, and that they were unable to exceed everything. They weren't satisfied with just going with the flow, they wanted to encompass everything. Such warriors had huge hearts. With endless ambition, and one's belief was terrifying too. Three paths. The reason why the Earth people regarded each level as higher than the other was because they hadn't produced a true great being. There were many in history that had reached the peak of knowing oneself, and after encountering countless setbacks, there were huge changes in history itself. They had seen through themselves and realized eventually that getting along was the path, and completely enforcing their way was too extreme. Hence there was man and nature as one, the so-called perfect level. Then, they no longer suffered, no longer butted heads, rather they were worshipped by many. After walking that second path for a long time, they would have deeper visions. They weren't satisfied with just man and nature as one, they wanted to encompass it all. This was the third level. In the history of Earth, anyone who reached the third level, built countries or sects. All in all, they were all the pinnacle beings of Earth. This heart that encompassed all allowed them to take any setbacks and improve through any situation. While their qualifications may not match others, however, with resolve and steady improvement, it allowed them to reach the top. Three paths, different levels. The third was the strongest, the second one followed, and the first one was the hardest. Hence it became known this way through the many generations of Earth, and ignorance was as such. Any great being, or absolute warrior would however mock this, as they knew that the path was simply different. What was the point of comparing these? To persevere for over 2,600 years, his heart is indeed sturdy. Put said, against such tearing pain, he must have a completely sturdy heart and willpower to push through. Only then could he last long, it'll just depend on how strong his heart is. There were many courageous warriors in Chinese history that crumbled under torture. Despite their loyalty, it could only be said that their pain threshold hadn't been honed. That their methods to train weren't strong enough. As for such pain that permeated the soul, that lasted for thousands of years, who could take it? As for the normal heroes from the past, just a few thousand years of solitude would make them go crazy, much less what Luo Feng was going through now. Asterisk 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 asterisk. While he was bearing with the torture, he forced himself to not be affected by anything, immersing himself in studying the beast god path. In the 2800th year, the high level of pain finally reached his true limit, affecting his study. Don't disturb me. Howl. Within his internal world, the golden horned beast looked down at the statue and copied it. Just like some scientist from Earth, even in sickness and pain, they continued to research. Even though they were affected and distracted, they would continue their work. Luo Feng, who had been immersed within for over 2,000 years, had already gotten so deep in that even though he was affected, he would simply push it aside. Pain? Force it away, continue his study. Distraction? Push it aside. A pure heart, against the danger, it created a mysterious energy and strength, allowing him to push aside the pain. And every time he did so, it allowed his heart to stabilize. It would gradually strengthen him, and this speed of growth was faster than before. Just like that, Luo Feng held on. 2,900 years, 3,000, 3,100 years, 200. His ability to push aside the pain grew better as time passed. The strength his soul had for pushing aside this eternally rising pain, this pain that he could never quell, only continued to meld with it. However, the pain continued to grow. Almost like after stabilizing himself from the distractions for so long, one would still eventually get tired and unable to move. No matter how strong his beliefs were, one would reach a limit, and the result was to die. Is this the end? Put sat cross-legged there and looked at the shivering Luo Feng covered in sweat and blood. His body twitched in pain, sometimes madly, sometimes a little. His entire body was shivering madly. He's tired. Child, just give up. Even if you fall, and your teacher doesn't revive you, just because of your strong will, I will reverse time and space to revive you. While you may lose much, however, the process for the Star Tower to recognize an owner is simply too hard. Back then when the tower melded with that colorful light, even teacher didn't have a guarantee, maybe, then even if the Earth race produced incredibly exceptional beings, it still wouldn't work. If the first three all failed, even the fourth, fifth, and so on might keep failing. Who knows when teacher will change his mind and not force this Star Tower to recognize an owner. Put sighed. He was a universe master, a pinnacle being of the vast universe. He could easily see through Luo Feng's soul, and he knew that Luo Feng was already at his limit. Don't disturb me. Don't bother me. Luo Feng was still completely immersed in studying the beast god path. Against the powerful pain that constantly interrupted him, he howled within and raged, "Don't disturb me, no one can disturb me, no one will." Rumble. A sudden change. If his willpower and consciousness before was said to be honed into a diamond, incredibly sturdy and piercing, over the 3,200 years of training, it reached another level and it became an even denser diamond than before. Just like it was placed in a location with extreme pressure, like a star becoming a neutron star. Consciousness and willpower, it had an unbelievable evolution. The diamond was forced into an atomic nucleus. Continue. Luo Feng had a feeling like he never had before. Almost like when he reached his final limit of fatigue, passing it now gave him even more strength than before. The pain had disrupted his study before, knocking him hard until he reached his limit. Now, however, it was completely suppressed and gave no resistance whatsoever. What? In the shrine, Put, who had been observing the entire process, glanced at Luo Feng's soul and naturally discovered the evolution. How did it change? How did this happen? This never happened to the two of them before him. Especially the second, he lasted for 3,300 years before falling and nothing like this ever happened. Put was shocked. Right, the two candidates, one was at innocence and the other at encompassing all. They had different ways of dealing with the pain. Innocence would make him get used to the pain and melt with it. Encompassing all would encompass even the pain. However, the two of them were both wrong. Wrong in the sense that this isn't a pain from anything, but rather the crystal melding with the soul. This isn't an illusion, but something real. While their methods could push their souls to the limit to not feel the pain. However, without withstanding it, they cannot suppress it. Their strength to suppress it naturally won't be enough. Because they melded with it, they encompassed it. And Luo Feng chose to withstand it. Completely withstand and suppressing the pain, not ever melding or encompassing it. While he may feel more pain. But isn't this a way to train the first level of knowing oneself? Pushing his willpower to the limit finally resulted in evolution, resulting in a huge jump. Put gasped. A huge leap forward gave Luo Feng a huge leeway. 3,300 years, 3,900. 4,000. 300, 4.900. The crystal continued to melt with him, and the pain gradually rose. Even though the evolution before gave Luo Feng a huge leeway, over the past 2,000 years, it finally got close to his limit again. Is there no way for this star tower to recognize an owner? The past 3,200 years was only the first half. Put was shocked as well, because the longest a candidate lasted before was only 3,300 years. No one truly knew how long this process would take. No one had done it. No one knew the limit, whether it was Put or that great being before. If Luo Feng fails, how many more candidates would it take to actually succeed? His face was filled with worry. 5,000 years. Put's voice was old and filled with worry. He had never expected the process to take over 5,000 years. The first two had only lasted 2,600 and 3,300 years respectively. Let's hope that Luo Feng succeeds. Put heaved a long sigh, his voice resounding throughout the shrine. Virtual universe, Black Dragon Mountain, 9-Star Bay. Within an ancient construct. 9-Star Bay was now used only by the highest levels of Luo Feng's family, as the many other members all lived in other places. As a family with over 10,000 years of history, plus with Luo Feng's status being akin to the Gunwu Universe country leader, the family's power was huge. Walking along the exquisite stone floor, Shushin walked along the pathway followed by two ladies. As Luo Feng, the highest power in the family, was exploring the universe, everything was mostly left to his oldest son Luo Ping to handle, however the important matters were still handled by Shushin. Shushin had a special position in the family, and also she was the CEO of the Ping High Company. Over the 10,000 years, her position and authority grew. Just a glance from her would make others shudder. Normal people didn't even dare look up at her. However, there always seemed to be a sense of worry on her face. "Master, it's a letter from the family leader." Her virtual assistant suddenly alerted her. "Mail?" She suddenly stopped, her eyes happy from the surprise. No matter how calm she was in a flurry now. He said he was off to do something important, closing off the virtual universe receiver. However, he completely vanished for 6,000 years, and was unable to be found or contacted. How can I not worry? In the world of warriors, disappearing for 6,000 years without any news, it could very likely mean one had fallen. Luckily he had left messages for his family before he shut off his receiver. The wife seems very happy. I've never seen her so happy. She's been deep in worry the past few years. Now, however, she seems much lighter than before. The two ladies behind discussed secretly. Indeed so, Shushin was happily reading the mail. He really knows how to say the right things. She read the mail, her smile growing wider. Even the events from high school, "We are already an old couple, is there a need for all these?" The mail was very long. A total of tens of thousands of words. Shushin had walked from the pathway to the grass and sat in a chair to slowly read through. This was a mail filled with emotions. From the time the two met to the time they fell in love, Shushin couldn't help but smile as she read. As she read on, suddenly her expression changed. Her body shivered as her eyes revealed shock. No! No! She stood up fiercely, roaring within, tears about to flow down. I don't want your guilt, no! This shocked the two ladies behind her. They exchanged glances and felt something amiss. An urgent shout resounded from afar as a silhouette swiftly rushed over and another from another side. They were Luo Ping and Luo Hai. They both had anxious expressions, shouting for her as they arrived. They too had received mails. Close the door, forbid anyone from entering. Xu Xin shouted at the two ladies. Yes. The two ladies were her personal staff. Whether it was matters with Ping Hai Company or family affairs, Xu Xin often gave her orders through them. Even though they were just her staff, their position was akin to high-level managers of the family. Naturally they were incredibly astute and intelligent. When they sensed something amiss, they immediately shut off the doors. Ma, what's going on? Has Dad really? Luo Ping and Luo Hai were both anxious. Xu Xin hugged her two sons, finding it hard to hold back her tears. This mail was something Luo Feng had actually set to send 6,000 years after he began the life or death inheritance. According to his thinking back then, the first candidate lasted 2,600 years and the second one lasted 3,300 years. He expected the entire process to only last at most 4,000 years. It was too long, absurdly long. The two had passed the hidden tests before and had finally gone for the life or death inheritance. They were obviously both exceptional beings too. They shouldn't have been too far from the end. Luo Feng had expected 6,000 years. Since the first lasted 2,600 and the entire process should be about 4,000 years. It wouldn't be so absurd as to go on for 6,000 years, right? Who could last that long? If I succeed in this, I'll get rid of the mail. If I fail, at least they will have something. After all, the moment I fall, the connection to the virtual universe has been shut and the primal Chaos City leader wouldn't know about me falling. With his level of being, his training may go on for hundreds of millions of years at a time. Who knows when he would actually revive me? And Xu Xin's lifespan is at most 10 million years. Luo Feng was very worried. He believed that even if he fell, he would eventually be revived by his teacher. However, what if he was only revived after 10 million years? What about his wife? After his revival, what if his wife, son, parents and younger brother were all dead? Hence, he prepared a mail for them and set it to send automatically 6,000 years from when he began. Your father is in a predicament, but he did say he would return in the future. If short, 10,000 years, if long up to 10 million years. Xu Xin's voice shook. Right, 10 million years, her lifespan was but that long. Would she see him again? Dad. Dad. Luo Ping and Luo Hai were shocked too. Let's go see your grandparents. Xu Xin suppressed the pain and said. After a while, the three of them met up with Luo Hongguo and Gongxin Lan, along with Luo Hua. They all bore a look of pain. The entire Luo family was supported by Luo Feng. The humans of Earth were the same. He had always been there, weathering the storms and allowing them to grow to such strength, allowing the humans of Earth to stand high in the entire Ganwu universe country. However, the pillar had fallen. Little Feng, Little Feng. Gongxin Lan was shaking. Even though Luo Feng said he would return in the distant future, the family all regarded this as words to console them. Our Luo family, our Earth, is facing a huge crisis. Xu Xin's voice was hoarse. Everyone looked at her. The account number and password he left in the mail is for some wealth for the Luo family. It's one with a huge amount of wealth within. Xu Xin said she hadn't seen him in so long. She didn't expect for him to leave an account in the mail, reaching up to 50 billion mixed elements. This was an unbelievable sum to her. Within the entire Ganwu universe country, other than the leader himself, who would have such wealth? Everybody hurry and get ready to deal with this. She said hoarsely. The hypocrisy of the world. If Luo Feng truly fell, our family would definitely be targeted. We don't have enough strength to protect the entire huge family. I'm heading immediately to see his teacher Tru Yang and ask about him. Hurry and go. Go, Leave the family to us, Luo Hongguo and Luo Hua said. She nodded. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Xu was after all a core member of the Virtual Universe Company. With her connections and her having Tru Yang's number from a long time ago, she quickly contacted him and told him what happened. What? Return in the distant future? Tru Yang's expression changed. Unlike Xu and the others, Tru Yang was an absolute warrior of the universe. He knew much more. He immediately understood, Luo Feng's distant future meant he would be revived. Otherwise, with the virtual universe network spreading all over the vast universe, how could they not be able to contact him? I'm going to see the Primal Chaos City leader, Tru Yang said urgently. Sorry to trouble you, Xu said anxiously. I am his teacher. Tru Yang immediately left the virtual universe network. Primal Chaos City, Tru Yang immediately rushed to the city leader's residence to request a visit. What level of being was the city leader? Even Tru Yang had almost no possibility of ever seeing his true body, unless there were extenuating circumstances. This time, Tru Yang saw him. You say that he might have fallen? The city leader sat cross-legged across the vast wasteland of corpses. Yes, Tru Yang said respectfully. He's still alive, the city leader said. Alive? Tru Yang was shocked. I can confirm that he's been in the 7th battlefield Star Tower, and he's been there the past 6,000 years. The city leader said. He hasn't connected to the network for the past 6,000 years, but I can confirm his life energy is still there. At most, he should be in some trouble. It's normal for danger to appear within Star Tower. Tru Yang was somewhat nervous when he heard, that was the Star Tower. On the surface, the tower only had forbidden guards in spaces. However, in truth, it had many dangers about. One had to know that it was a place that even universe masters didn't dare mess about within. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Star Tower. Within the shrine surrounded by countless sealed stars, the floor was stained in a layer of blood. Luo Feng sat there, his body shivering from the pain, as blood flowing all around. The Sector Lord body's regeneration was incredibly strong. The main core could give never-ending energy to recover, yet he kept bleeding. His body was about to crumble everywhere. This was the result of intense pain from the soul. It was obvious that the pain from his soul was absurd. 6,000 years. 5,000 years ago, he was already close to his limit, and at 5,600 years, he had completely reached his limit already. He was able to evolve at the critical moment last time. I don't believe that he can be so lucky this time. However, from the 5,600 year to the 6,000 year, it's been 400 years, just what amount of strength does he have? Put sat cross-legged and looked at Luo Feng shocked. He couldn't imagine how he could still hold on even after reaching his limit 400 years ago. The pain on his soul had already reached its limit, and he had no way to suppress it anymore. Luo Feng couldn't study the beast god path anymore, and his consciousness was simply holding on by a thread, withstanding the tearing of his soul. I want to see you all again. You all. You all? Luo Feng's consciousness held on to one single thing, that was his family. His parents and brother, his wife. He didn't want to be revived to a time where they were all gone. He couldn't accept that. At the final point, his heart only held that one thought, his family. I wish. I really wish. His soul began to crumble, however a formless willpower forced it back together. Crumble, form, amidst the struggle, his only thought held him together. Within he called out to his family. He was guilty, he couldn't bear to. That crystal however continued to meld and tear his soul apart. His soul was about to crumble. I really wish. You all? He was already unable to even think, as his soul was on the brink of shattering. Just one thought forced his soul to stick together, the only surviving thought. You are still fighting, your soul is already crumbling. Put sighed. Child, you are too tired, just give up. With his unbelievable power as a universe master, he had seen the state of Luo Feng's soul. He had begun to care for this child. You have already spent 6,000 years. You've struggled with this. Yet, you've only lived past 10,000 years. You are too young. And still a child. He shook his head. He was the first underling of the Great Being. From the most ancient of times, he had followed the Great Being throughout the universe, and he had lived an incredibly long life. In his eyes, the Sector Lord lifespan of 1,000 eras was only maturity. As for Luo Feng's 6,000 years of struggle with the inheritance, he had only lived past 10,000 years. In the vast universe, it was indeed tender. Cuckoo. Luo Feng's body shook as it unconsciously made noise, as fresh blood flowed. Almost like a fish on shore that was about to die. He was struggling. He couldn't die that easily, even if he knew he would be revived eventually. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Put snake tail lay across the ground. He looked on at Luo Feng, who could fall at any time. He understood that this youth was fighting with everything he had. You are impressive. The first one lasted 2,600 years, while the second one lasted 3,300 years. Yet, you've been here over 6,000 years. It's already very impressive, and you should be proud. Just give up. Put was very clear on what Luo Feng was going through, who was even unable to even think, while his soul was falling apart. Star Tower. Why is this inheritance so hard? He sighed, looking at the unconscious, shivering and bleeding Luo Feng. Luo Feng had a life-changing event before. That was when he immolated his soul to fight the golden horned beast. During that time he was supposed to die too. He was willing to give it all up to kill the beast. Fate plays tricks on people. He didn't expect to actually possess the beast and begin a whole new life. He was the pride of the Genius Battle, the Gunwu Universe investigator, the disciple of the Primal Chaos City leader. He had massacred emperors till he got the name Blade River Emperor, Intrepid. Incredibly exciting. Now he was at this point again. This was the second life-changing event. If he succeeded, he would live on. If he failed, he would fall. His body unconsciously made cracking noises, as his expression was warped. His skin was torn apart, even more tragic than most dead people. Live or die. Luo Feng struggled on this thin fine line. The mad winds blew at him, blowing him towards the side of death, but his love and affection for his family made him fight hard to hold on, pulling himself to side of living. However, every thought had its limit, and if the inheritance continued, his soul would continue to be torn up stronger than before. I wish, really wish. Luo Feng was like a person running on the highway being chased by the cars, running as fast as he could. However, the traffic behind was speeding up and gradually catching up. Finally they caught up. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Within the thousands of forbidden spaces in Star Tower, many undyings from all over were suddenly shocked. What's going on? Why are the forbidden spaces shaking? Rumble. Almost like a giant who was shaking every space violently, the entire 9 light-year tall tower shook. However, with the 9 whirlpools around, it was hard to tell. The countless undyings within all didn't know what had happened. Simultaneously, within an incredibly distant dangerous area, amidst vast energies, a lonely palace glowing with green light floated up. The many underlings within were all knights. Within a huge throne, a majestic old man over 90,000 kilometers tall sat there, listening to the reports from his underlings. Suddenly, his expression changed and he looked far away, almost like he saw through time and space, right at the Star Tower. The process of the Star Tower recognizing an owner has been going on for so long, that you've actually lasted past it. Ha ha. 8 trillion years of waiting, the Earth race has finally produced an exceptional warrior. He got up suddenly, vanishing from sight. Success? Put looked shocked at Luo Feng, who had stopped shivering. He had felt Luo Feng's consciousness slowly fading away, almost like it was about to end. He would at most last another 2 to 3 years. Luo Feng had already lasted 6,092 years. What was 2 to 3 years before the thousands of years before? Anyone would have known that the end was coming. Even if he fought hard, with no more fuel left, he would naturally stop moving altogether. And just earlier, that crystal had finally completely melded with his soul. The fusion was a success. Fate decreed so. Actually, if Luo Feng didn't have such a sturdy heart, withstanding the pain for so long, the evolution wouldn't even have happened 3,200 years ago. Without that evolution, no matter how strong he was, he wouldn't have lasted another 3,000 years. Even with that evolution. If he didn't hold on to his thought for close to 500 years. This final moment. The final evolution. Even with miracles, one needs hard work to create opportunities. Success. Luo Feng opened his eyes, as his world energy shook off all the blood on his body. His eyes were incredibly fatigued and joyful. I've succeeded, I can return to you all. He was relaxed and gleeful. The extreme fatigue on his soul overtook him and consumed his consciousness. Rumble. Luo Feng, who had been sitting cross-legged all this while, even when death was upon him, suddenly fell and lay on the ground motionless. He had fallen into a deep sleep. He's fallen asleep. He actually fell asleep. Put smiled at the scene. It's rare for a sector lord to fall asleep from fatigue. An undying would fall into a coma when they lost too much of their undying body. And the moment a sector lord's soul collapses, they die. Unless it was like Luo Feng's condition where he forced too much out of his soul, far exceeding the limits of a sector lord's soul. Hence he fell asleep right after succeeding. His soul itself was too tired, it required time to recover. However, normally warriors who are able to unleash their soul strength were already considered not bad, much less exceeding its limits. For a sector lord to lose consciousness from fatigue was incredibly rare. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. For a sector lord to be so tired that he required sleep, the sleep naturally lasted a long time. However, as his soul was still complete, it wouldn't be as long as an undying recovering from a coma. Luo Feng slept for over 9 years. He hadn't dreamt like that in a long time. He lay within the shrine of Star Tower, smiling as he lay there. He seemed to dream of happy things. At this time, beside him in the shrine, there were 2 incredibly terrifying beings of the universe there watching the scene. Luo Feng's eyes gradually opened. He slept so deep that he dreamt of many things. It was clear his soul had completely recovered. When his dream finished, he opened his eyes. "Child." A warm voice resounded. Just like the voice from the black metal board, it made Luo Feng stand up immediately and turn about. There were 2 silhouettes. One was the familiar Universe Master Put. At this time, he sat cross-legged and had kept his power, remaining low profile. And right ahead in the center stood a majestic over 900-meter tall huge silhouette. He wore a normal green armor and had 2 translucent horns on his forehead. He was looking down at Luo Feng. His vast energy engulfed the entire shrine. Amidst the vast energy, Luo Feng felt like a normal human being covered by the sun. There was no sense of threat, instead it was very comfortable. It also made him realize this wasn't pressure, but the natural life energy this being emitted. Just this energy alone far exceeded Put's, and even the primal Chaos City leaders. The universe laws, I can't feel them anymore. Luo Feng was shocked. How is this possible? Why can't I feel the laws? The warriors all trained in feeling the laws and comprehending them. The clearer they were, the faster they trained. However, whether it was his human body, or the Mosha body or the golden horned beast, they all similarly couldn't feel a hint of the laws, just as though this being before him, his life energy forced even the laws of the universe away. This is the power of the great being? Luo Feng looked at this over 900-meter tall majestic old being. Feeling shock within, even the laws of the universe are no match for him. It's no wonder he can create the 9-volume manual, something that goes against the laws altogether. This is simply too. Over 900-meter tall, it shocked Luo Feng. Human beings were hardly ever that tall. He didn't know that this being's normal size was actually over 90,000 kilometers tall. As a completely unique life form, in terms of talent and bloodline level, it was much higher than the golden horned beast. However, to enter the shrine to see Luo Feng, he shrank himself to only 900 meter. Congratulations, from now on, you are the leader of the Earth race. You have the right to become an absolute warrior of the universe. The majestic being's voice thundered throughout the hall straight into Luo Feng's heart. Beside him, the Universe Master Put was smiling at him too, and was happy for him. Third Junior, congratulations. This video will end here.